Hi, I'm Kathleen.
I'm Phil.
I'm Maggie.
And you're watching Word of Mouth.
You're not giving much credit to the discernment of the consumer, African American or otherwise.
Discernment implies a choice. You don't see no Whole Foods in this neighborhood, do you?
Oh, it's coming. You got a Starbucks right across the street.
Brother, they got Starbucks in wheat fields now.
Today we saw Superior Donuts.
It was about a man named Arthur who lives in Chicago, lived in Chicago all his life, and he owns and it actually inherited his father's donut shop.
It reminded him of his parents. This was his living, his life. He wanted to be left alone in that donut shop, which wasn't make much money. And one guy wanted to buy it. And he didn't want to sell it. There wasn't a question of money. This was his life.
And he takes in a young assistant, or actually is kind of forced to take in a young assistant who comes in and kind of barrels his way into Arthur's life. And the assistant's name is Franco, and he's a 21-year-old black man.
At first, he doesn't care for him, but Franco had his own boat to sail. He had he wanted to be an author.
Franco, at first, you think, is kind of just a fast-talking, almost like a street hustler. You know, he comes in, he demands this job, he has big plans for the donut shop. We're going to have a coffee night, we're going to have a poetry slam, you know, all of this. And then you realize that, in fact, there is another dimension to him, and that he has written, over the past 7 years, a novel. He refers to it as the Great American Novel, and that becomes a very central part of the story.
Franco has a huge debt, a huge gambling debt.
The bad guys came over and they wanted the money that he was owed, and he didn't have it. He didn't have it.
If you've seen anything that Tracy Letts has written, there's usually something where you kind of have to take a gasp and you say, you know, I didn't see that coming. And then the show goes into a different direction, in a very interesting direction. But it goes from kind of a very funny comedy kind of set up in the beginning into a deeper look into the lives and how lives are very complex.
Michael McKean, he engendered pity often, because you can see the problems he had. He lost his wife, he was divorced prior, hadn't seen his children. He was suffering.
I'm a fan of Michael McKean's, and here he surprised me because I think I associate him more with comedies, although he has done some dramatic work. And in this he's funny because he's talented, he's a talented comic, but he's also very vulnerable.
John Michael Hill is perfect in it. He's completely believable. You like him, and you know something's amiss. But he's very, very endearing.
I was not at all familiar with him. He was new to me, and he was a revelation. He was very good.
He's a very talented boy. He was funny. He was believable, you know, at the same time, and he was very move about in his parts, but he wasn't stiff. He was great. He was great.
I think everyone in this show is wonderful. There was not a weak link in the show. All
the characters were characters you would meet in Brooklyn, New York. This was taken in Chicago. The same thing. It was true to life, verisimilitude, that's the word.
The first act, I think, is perfect. Is perfection. The second act was almost like he took a crochet hook and he tidied it up so there'd be all kinds of nice little things that happened to finish the play.
Perhaps the ending is a little predictable, but that's not a bad thing. It worked for me, the plot line was consistent, and I believed it.
I thought the show was wonderful. I thought it was funny. I felt sorry for Arthur in his life, but it was humorous. We came out laughing.
I would recommend the show to friends. I actually would recommend it to a wide variety of people. I had my 18-year-old niece as my guest today, and at the end of it, she said, wow, I want to see it again.
Everyone was happy when they left, and I think they were happy because it wasn't tragic and it wasn't mean. It was good, yeah.
$5 if you can't pass my test.
Make it a Starbucks.
Get your money on the table, sucker. Okay? Okay, the test is name 10 black poets.
10?
Yup.
That's not a racist test, that's a poet test.
I'll even throw in Langston, all right? He could be #1. Go, 10 poets. If you say Nipsey Russell, the game is over.